Sorry for joining me. My name is Kevin Anyango, the founder of Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. The platform talks about those behaviors or characteristics that employers are looking for. Today, I'm not alone. Today, I'm speaking to one and only Frank. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thanks for replying to me as one and only. I know there are many other Franks out there. My name is Frank D.Ochieng.
but there's only one Frank from KenGen. So yeah, one and only one at the moment. Anyway.
All right.
But Frank, I've got to say that it has taken me a while to have you here, but thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's been a difficult period. I think the first time we got in touch was during the COVID time. And
Indeed,
of course,
yes,
you know
yes.
what that has done to us. It is completely changed the way we do business. And
yes.
There was so much happening between that time and now. So I think this is the perfect time. And good news in Kenya now, many of those restrictions have been removed. We are currently seeing the economy opening up, a lot of activity. We are deep in the heat of the political time. And therefore, it's business. And that means that we are back to work now as normal, and like what it used to be before, where many people were forced to decongest their workspaces. And several people had to stay at home and that kind of thing. So we are excited for these times, and we hope that the numbers remain low. We are able to manage the virus, and that people can continue being safe, but then still grow the economy.
It did. We're talking about COVID, Frank. It has affected mostly young people, really, and it's actually make people struggle with opportunities. So what will you tell the young people right now that are listening to us, those who have struggled during the pandemic, even now, in terms of opportunities? What do you tell them?
You're right. Really, COVID is not something that we as a people prepared for. The world wasn't ready for this. And in fact, it affected almost the North and the South in a almost similar way. But I think we are lucky in Africa and then in Kenya specifically. I was looking at the numbers the other day, and we only have like 0.6% who are affected or rather infected with COVID. And therefore, in terms of health, it really wasn't such a big concern to us as Kenyans. But then there's the other aspect of it where then now, because of the measures that we put in place to ensure that people remain safe. And I think that's why even we are having very low numbers, because we had very radical measures put in place to ensure that people remain safe. And therefore, because of that, several people lost what they call their livelihood. Many businesses actually shut down, a number of them slowed down. And that affected a good population in our country. But things are picking up now. And something that I always say is that ours as employees and as workers is to solve a problem.
Yes.
For as long as there is a particular problem in any organization, and all companies have got problems and needs that they want to meet, for as long as that exists, then it means that they will always need people who can come and help them solve those particular problems. And currently the problem is business, which is a good problem, is picking up, and they want people. So you need to just step up, show up, give your best, and put in your application. And sometimes just putting in your application really matters.
Well, talking about solving problem, and we're going to talk about right now about jobs opportunities. For those that have just joined us, I'm talking to Frank. I was for KenGen based in Nairobi. This is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. Frank, so when you are employing people, do you look at personality or qualifications?
Well, I'm not really an employer per se as such. I've sat in several interview panels. The only people I can say I've employed are back in the village, and that's a very small number. But
No. Oh, Frank, let's clarify something here. But you're the
yes,
boss. You run the communication aspect of KenGen Ken.
yes, I get your point. Clearly, there are two things involved here, Kevin. First, you have to have the key to open the door. And then second is after you're in the room, then you need to know your space, where to sit and what to do with even the furniture in there. Now, for me, the key to open that door is usually your minimum qualifications, your certificate, the qualifications and skills that usually many jobs will advertise and say the minimum requirements for this particular job is ABCD. There's no way I will pick somebody who has a certificate when we're looking for somebody who has a bachelor's degree. So let's start from there first, that this what we call the hard skills are really the key that will most of the time get you into the room. But then once you've gotten into the room, then there are those other things that will then keep you and help you grow. And those are the things I think you call the soft skills, that once you've been given that opportunity, we always say that you then become your own employer. You will determine how long you stay in a place. You'll determine how fast or how far you grow based on how well you're able to use these things we call soft skills to navigate the common workplace problems and challenges. And again, all the time, always remember what is my organizational main need and problem, and how can I pitch in to help solve that. So those two must go hand in hand. The hard skills, which is mostly the key, and the soft skills, which then now help you.
And where do we learn about the soft skills, Frank? And the reason I'm asking about this is you find lots of qualified people, also there, but once you bring into the room, they struggle a bit. And when I mean struggle, is struggle the way they relate to people, critical thinking, kind of mindset, leadership skills. We should talk about that in a moment. But where will people learn these soft skills that you're talking about here?
Clearly, I always look at the life of a human being as a complete journey, which starts that very day you made that loud cry in the hospital when you were born. Immediately you cried was because somebody hit your back, or you felt some cold suddenly, which was different from your mother's womb. And therefore you felt that I needed to react and do something to just try and communicate what I'm feeling. And that follows you all through life. Some of these things can be, and of course, they can't be taught in school. I know people always say that in school we are taught technical skills and that kind of thing. True, that is what the curriculum gives. But a very keen student will realize that teachers usually go far and beyond what is supposed to be taught in classroom. In our days, teachers were better disciplinarians than even our parents. A teacher was allowed to cane us, yes, and even meet me on a Saturday, on a weekend. A teacher had that right to cane me in the market and tell me you're doing something wrong. So it wasn't just a classroom situation, but it was also an all-round trying to bring up a pupil. So these things can really be taught in school, but not much of it happens there. A lot of it then comes to take place even outside university. I've seen people who go all the way to the university, and even people who have got master's degrees. Nowadays, it's very easy to fast track your academics and even do PhDs, and then think of going into the job market. And then you realize that really, I took so much time focusing, yes, on the academics, and then you'll be forced to start from the very bottom, because the things that you learned in class cannot easily translate into the workplace situation. And so you'll find some people coming from university and then beginning to learn how to then navigate into the room I was talking about, know where the seat is and how to sit, how high to put it, how low, and those kind of things. So they can be taught in class, but much of it happens in the workplaces. And you need to, this is where now we bring in things like role modeling, which sometimes is confused with mentorship. I think role modeling is just about people like you, Kevin, and I trying to act and behave in such a way that can inspire somebody else. Do things that people can emulate in terms of your character, in terms of your behavior, in terms of ethics, in terms of all these things, discipline. Then those who look upon you, some of them without you knowing, and it happens quite a lot. There are those who just look up to you and try to emulate your steps. Sometimes you fall, not knowing that you're somebody's role model. But again, they are following your steps. So it's actually important that once you're in such positions, then you try and measure each and every steps that you make, and mostly in public, and try and portray that right image and those right characters, behaviors that can then inspire other people to try and do the same. Then the second aspect.
Please carry on, please.
And the second aspect of it now is the bit that many of us call mentorship. And of course, a lot of the mentorship we hear around is it mostly remains in talk. We talk about it, mentorship is good, should be done. You need to mentor the young ones, bring them up. You hear women need to mentor each other. Now, a big challenge is the boy child, who again, people are saying need to be mentored, to be brought up to the level of the girl child. But I believe that mentorship needs to be structured. Structured in the sense that you need to consider things like twinning, which I've been testing within my team. Twinning individuals with a more experienced person. And it doesn't have to be about, like, let's say I'm an engineer. I do not have to be twinned or mentored by an engineer. You could then look for an accountant. You could look for somebody in supply chain, so that people can be mentored along various professional lines and even character development, so to speak. Taken that way, in a structured way, that people do it intentionally, not just by talk, but intentionally, beginning with identifying what are the needs that this person really needs, and having clear timelines and agreeing on what they'll be engaging together, so that we're able to track progress on those kind of things. There'll be no exams as such, but you can then be having meetings to just track progress in terms of, this is where we started from. We are talking about your discipline, your lateness coming to work. We didn't like your dressing at the beginning, but 6 months down the line, has anything changed? Are we seeing you being able to eloquently speak? Are we seeing you being able to do better presentations? Do you understand the company strategy better? So if it is structured that way, then again, mentorship then becomes something that can be valuable to helping bring up the young ones.
But Frank, work environment can be very busy sometimes, So, for example, in your team, you're not just looking for one person. There are also people behind you. So suppose what I want to ask is, if one has never been employed and they find themselves in this room where they're being interviewed, whatever it is, then how do they show this kind of character you're talking about? Because remember, they've never been employed before. They've got no any work experience. So where will they learn these soft skills that we are referring to?
I think the world today is really rich in terms of areas where people can get information from. Back in our days, maybe I think you're in that digital space also, where you're able to access things. I believe you're somewhere else, not in Kenya, but we're able to talk. Back in our days, you'd only rely on books. You'd rely on your teachers. You'd rely on one-on-one. But today, just go to YouTube, for example, and type in any topic. I know many people go there for music, streaming, and all those kind of things, movies. Some people even watch movies in the office, a whole 2-hour movie watching in the office. So imagine what else when you will be working. But that's beside the point. So if you go to things like YouTube, you are able to look for any kind of topic that you feel you're weak in. And I think it is best if somebody more experienced helps you to identify areas that you need improvement in, and then lead you towards the right resources. Today, LinkedIn has got a lot of resources you can, and I see several people have taken up that. We are happy at KenGen that it has been made a corporate thing. Employees are now able to just get into LinkedIn and take various courses on everything, hard skills if you want, soft skills if you want, and they're adding even a certificate on it. Once you're done, you get a certificate for learning how to speak, learning how to write better, learning how to just do my CV. Sometimes the CV is written in such a way that when you receive it, you just throw it away and look for others. But today you're able to get all these skills online. But that does not discount the fact that we still have people out here who are always willing to help. And sometimes all it takes is just you knocking the door. and talking to people. I've come to learn over time that people are always willing to help. It's just that many of us are shy. We tend to be shy to approach people to ask for help. But naturally, human beings are good by nature. You just approach somebody, ask for help, and quite often you'll get it.
That's interesting. I talk about internet. Look, you and I have never met before, and actually I approached you on LinkedIn. So it says something about you and what you value. But so if you look at stats in Kenya, most young people will spend their time online on Facebook or social media, not necessarily in platforms like LinkedIn. So the amount of experience, please just help us understand and appreciate the power of internet when it comes to opening up opportunities.
I'll take you back to my early days when I was starting out my career in communications. And I think I must say here that I am one of the lucky people who started out. There's this notion that once you're out of university, if you studied law, open up your mind and be ready to do anything. Go and teach. If you find kazi ya mjengo, go and do it.
Yes.
So people have been told to open up and not follow their passion, but just go for anything which is available. I will say that I've been one of those lucky people who never diverted from my field. Right from the time I left the university, I said I want to do this, and I followed it step by step to this very day. So which really means it's possible. And one thing I learned those early days was that, and that's when things like Facebook were not there then. Facebook, I think, came much later on. What used to happen then was that would have several job sites, and by a click of button, you just put your CV somewhere, update it once in a while, and then look for a particular job that you're looking for. I want to be an engineer, an accountant, a communications officer. So in a day, you would apply to up to 200 jobs by just clicking one button. And that happens until today. There are so many job sites out here. In Kenya, I know of Brighter Monday. There's something being pushed now by the government of Kenya, the Ajira platform, which again has a lot of opportunities for young people, and a lot of it in the digital space, which therefore means that these things are available. We just need to open our ears, open our eyes, and know where to look for them, and try and reduce the amount of TikTok that we intake, because a lot of time TikTok has become that thing that keeps on rolling with videos on and on. So if you keep your mind and eyes on it, you will miss these other opportunities on LinkedIn. And I see very few people on LinkedIn in terms of people who are serious about their profession, as opposed to Facebook, which we are on live now, and and on Instagram. The youth tend to take these things as though they are fun things to just play around with. But somewhere behind the scenes, somebody is making a lot of money out of just having that video streaming online. How can we, as people of even Africa, the South, so to speak, take advantage of these kind of things and start monetizing our being online, so that instead of being online for fun, be there, enjoy it, and make money out of it? And there's a lot of opportunities like that on the internet today.
Frank, you're very eloquent. So what built you a character? Would you say it was school, life experience, or, I mean, you're quite admirable what you have achieved, what you do. So just to share with us, very quickly, what built that character?
You'll be very surprised, but I grew up a very quiet person, extremely quiet. And even to this very day, many people will be shocked to say that I am mostly an introvert. But I learned, and that's why I'm saying it is possible. Many of these things can be learned. I learned how to speak. I learned how to stand before a crowd of 5,000 people and talk. So it is possible that somebody can learn. I went through normal schools, the normal, typical Kenyan schools, the public schools, so to speak, that people go to. Grew up through high school, or I went to the seminary. In another life, I would have been a priest.
So what is that? Is that Queens? What is that, Frank? Where do you go to school?
There's a seminary called St. Gabriel's Minor Seminary.
Yes, I know it very well.
Oh, you do? How?
I went to Queen of Apostles, Frank.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. No wonder it was easy for you to get to me.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, there I was being brought up to become a Catholic priest. Maybe if I follow that line today, I would be in the line to become the next bishop of Nairobi. So that is the place where we were taught even how to use forks. Unlike other boarding schools, there we had to eat using a fork and a spoon and a knife. And you sit at the table, which was not something that many of us were used to, and then share a meal. Of course, have a prayer before the meal. And then after you finish, you again have a prayer after the meal.
Yes.
Like 7 times in a day of prayer. So that in a way helped build some of the characters that somebody has. So that really happens. But of course, you can never forget about the things you learn at home.
Yes.
I will say for a fact that my mom is the one who took me to this path of communications. Of course, in her mind, what she wanted was that in fact, she's the one who wanted me to become a priest. I don't think I wanted to become a priest. Let me confess that today for the first time.
Well, she's watching. She will listen to this.
Yeah, she's usually very active on Facebook. Yeah, so she's the one who wanted me to become a priest. And I think it was because she wanted to become a nun. But that didn't happen. Because I'm here, that means she couldn't become a nun. And then she, of all her 4 kids, she thought I would be the one to become a journalist. So she looked at me as one of those reporters on BBC and CNN and that kind of thing, which I think is something I would have done. But I wanted to do public relations right from when I joined the university. Of course, I went through mass communications and PR, but when I left, I wanted to do PR. Now, I think my story around PR has been up and down, but mostly one I would want to say here was that I remember in campus, people are usually told that you go through the general courses. Somewhere come 3rd year, 4th year, you then specialize and focus on one area that you want to do. Of course, I got in there as a journalist, so I had to study mass communication, electronic media all the way to 3rd year. And then come 3rd year, there's one of our lecturers who told me that now you have to specialize and do mass communication only or do PR only. But here I wanted to please both myself and my mom by doing her journalism and I do my PR. So I did both of them together right up to 4th year. But I wasn't allowed to specialize in PR. And I had to graduate with only one, which is electronic media. Now, my first big break in public relations is a job that I did at Kisumu Water. When I went there for the interview, they wanted a PRO. Guess who I met in the interview room? The lecturer who had told me I have to specialize on one, and mine is electronic media. So here they're interviewing for PR, and he knows so well I didn't specialize in PR. So what am I doing here? That alone made me nervous, and I felt now this is my way out of this place. I'm not going to get it. But funny enough, out of a host of all those people, I emerged as the best, and I did some good 5 years at Kisumu Water, where we did great jobs in terms of trying to build the image of that company before then I moved to where I currently am. So these things can really be learned, and school is good. Do it. When you're doing it, give it your best, but then try and look at those characters that build a human being all around. Yes. And try and gather them along your journey as you grow.
So as we build ourselves in what is interesting us using experience, so would you say sometimes parents actually are kind of misguiding the children? Because your mom wanted you to be a priest, whatever it is, but you're not now. You're doing something else. So outside of that, would you say that parents are actually the cause of joblessness?
Not joblessness as such. I think parents and I think of everybody, your parents always want the best for you. They will never lead you to the wrong path. But for as long as the time that you're under them, they will always want to guide you towards what they feel is the best for you. But
so is that a problem then, Frank?
It can be both. The only thing is that I say is that you have a chance to turn around that. Many of them, and I can say probably even 70% or even more, there are people who will confess that they were led by their parents to take this particular career, and they followed it. I know doctors and lawyers do that very well. The Asian community, there are people who believe in a trade, and they will stick to that trade and say, my grandfather did this, my father did this, and so my son will do this. And they follow that path. There's something good about that in that it helps in specialization, which is something many people are not good in. That when you're able to specialize in something and make it a family tradition, then you become known for that thing. And then you even learn it as you start. Things like family business is good when you start as a child, grow in it, and then one day take the mantle. As opposed to saying that I want to go my own way. Let my parents run that butchery on their own. I want to go my own way. And then when later in life, when they're not able to run the business, you're called upon to come and start running it. And you realize it's very difficult. Mm-hmm. Then such is how most family businesses collapse, because the children are already brought up into this environment. So it cuts both ways. A good percentage of it, and again, you must add it to that idea that your parents always want the best for you. So a good percentage of it works. But then they always say that the moment you're 18, I like this quote by J.K. Rowling when she said that there's always an expiry date for blaming your parents for leading you to the wrong direction. The moment you're 18, the control is on you. And I think in some countries it's 16 years. The control is with you. You can gather all those skills and degrees that were supposed to be your parents and turn around all that to do what you want to do. So once you get out there into the field of the job market, then it's upon you. You cannot continue now saying that I was led through this path by my parents and therefore I'm failing because of them. And I've seen several young people even go into things like drug. They were sent to the university. Instead of studying, they indulge in drug abuse and alcohol, saying that I'm coming here because my parents brought me here, forgetting that they were doing that out of good faith, that they want you to have something which you can then depend on when they're not there, because your parents won't always be there for you. So quite often, they will always want the best for you. But again, if it wasn't the best, like sometimes it cannot be,
yes,
you have the control and opportunity to then determine what your life is going to be and what direction you're going to take. And then it's with you, no longer with them again.
Frank, you make it sound like it's very easy. Well, to talk about parents and communities, and I think I can see where you're reading at. You're a huge fan of mentorship, but don't you think sometimes mentorship is overrated?
I could agree with you when you say overrated when it is only talk. And that's why I said in the beginning that mentorship should not be a good thing for us to say. But mentorship really needs to be structured. If it is just a good thing that we say because it's nice to people hear that I'm mentoring, then it becomes overrated. But if it is something that is intentional, structured, with clear goals, then mentoring really counts, and it really helps people go a long way. Things like the skills that we need in our trade, things like writing, things like public speaking, and I do this until today, just trying to take people through common skills of public speaking. People who probably believe that they are good, but and even myself, there are days that I would think I'm exceptionally good and therefore don't need correction. Mentoring is that mirror, which then will tell you the things that you're able to correct about yourself. And once you correct that, then that mentorship has helped you. So it helps if it is structured with clear objectives and timelines. But if it is just talk that we throw there and then leave it hanging, then it becomes overrated, like you say.
So where will you find people like you? So, for example, you talked about where you write a lot, and that's why actually I came to find you. You write a lot on LinkedIn. Actually, let me ask this, Frank. What are the soft skills that employers are looking for, or even the interview that you see? people ask whether you are good at writing or whether you can write. Is that a skill that people can learn how to write, and how?
Unfortunately, there are people that I've seen today coming fresh from the university. They did English literature, they did journalism, and you give them a story, a simple story of 700 words, and the thing that is going to be given to you will shock you. I've even had discussions, even with the journalists that we see, many journalists that write the stories. Quite often there's somebody called an editor who then have to go behind your story and make it such a way that it becomes palatable for the audiences to receive. LinkedIn is really unfair for us, because LinkedIn, you don't have an editor apart from the online Google and the other material that you can use online to edit. But quite often you don't have an editor, and therefore we can file our stories without them being edited. But yes, people often come off the university without knowing how to compose a simple sentence. But then take them through the steps. 2 years down the line, you find people who are not very good writers end up being good writers. Writing is simply storytelling. You have to have it, like in myself, I always take probably even 1 week thinking about an article. I would think about a topic for about a week, just tossing it in my mind without writing anything at all. And then later on, after that is when I would sit down and punch it on the keyboards. And the actual writing itself for me takes about 10 minutes. And I'll do about 1,500 article in about 10 minutes. But the main bit about it is in thinking. So anybody can be taught and can learn to think. Use your mind, how to compose your story, make it logical, such that it flows. What is the big thing that I want to attract people? Nowadays, the internet is about clickbait.
Yes.
You find that quite often when you write, you don't just write. It could be a very boring story, but a lot of clickbait that then attracts people to come and read your article. So all that skill can then be learned. And you see, before we would write articles for the sake of just writing, for a book, maybe for a journal, which would not be the kind of writing we're writing today. So if it wasn't about me learning these new skills, writing for the current audiences who only want 270 words on Twitter, writing for people who only want like 700 words, things like opinion pieces, they will say in the newspapers they want only 800 words. So these things keep on changing, and therefore it means people must constantly learn. Get the basics in terms of grammar and sentence composition, but then be open to learn these other things. So all these
where do they learn? So where do they learn through reading other stuff, or do they learn through a mentorship? How do they learn about this kind of stuff? So assuming they've left universities and they have realized, actually, I need to have a footprint online. I want others to writing. So where do they learn this stuff practically?
I think first of all, for you to read, for you to write, you must be able to read, and read very widely about any topics. And not reading of Facebook posts and tweets, that kind of thing, which is what many people nowadays read.
That's
but
true.
reading deeply, and once in a while, I always and my wife is very good at this. That once in a while we get a book that you can hold in your hands like this, so that you're reading and just immersing yourself in that. I have a friend that usually tells me that each time he reads, he has never completed a book, because each time he starts reading, he reaches the second chapter and is like, I think I should write something. So it seems like what he's reading is not up to his standards. He can write better than that. So that people get inspiration from reading. So read a lot and widely. That will help you sharpen your skills. The other one is that you must keep on practice. Writing is like it's not like riding a bicycle. You know, they always say that once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you never forget.
Yes.
Now, writing,
Yes.
writing is not that. It's something that you must keep on practicing and sharpening your skills. Currently, I used to do on LinkedIn once in a while, maybe once in a month or so. But now I've changed. I'm doing it every week. So every week you'll be seeing an article from Frankly Speaking. Yes, Frankly Speaking newsletter. So again, there's pressure in that, but also the more you do it, the more you sharpen your skills, the more people point out your mistakes. The other day, somebody pointed out an error in my article. I had talked about half-baked men.
Yes.
So I wrote it half-backed instead of half-baked. And it went on LinkedIn. So people pick out those kind of mistakes, and each time you become conscious about these kind of things and you improve. So that, together with the things I talked about earlier, LinkedIn has given you all the opportunities. Much as they've not given us an editor to edit our articles before we publish them, they've given us resources where we can spend an hour, sometimes even longer, to just study on specific skills. YouTube gives us that.
So there is from what you're saying, clearly, so internet is a platform where we can showcase ourselves, isn't it? And where we can be identified, recognized.
In fact, I like the name of your organization, Tandao Varsity. It's like a university of the internet.
Something really, like that, yes.
And really, I think that's what it really is. The internet started out as a joke, those early days, for those who remember. And many people never believed that it would grow to be what it is today. And I sort of feel like we have reached a place where then there is going to be no more innovation. You know, before the internet, there was a lot of inventions and that kind of thing, but we don't hear of them anymore. And I think because the internet was a big thing, it was a big thing with a huge potential that we have not been able to harness the whole of it. Usually people move to the next big thing after you've realized that the wheel is no longer the only thing that can move the economy forward. We now think of something else. People used to fight with spears and clubs and shields on the battlefield. But because many of them used to die on the battlefield, they advanced to start thinking of how can we throw these weapons way further without us having to engage in combat. And that has moved to the days that nowadays you can throw nuclear weapons from one country to the other country. Yes. I think that's the same thing, that things keep on improving and things keep on changing. So it's just a matter of us keeping up with them. So the internet has got a huge potential, huge, that we are yet to be able to harness. And therefore, people need to take advantage of that, make use of it, and maybe then from that, we might see the next big thing after the internet.
Wow. Listen, I can't let you go without asking you this, Frank. So what will you tell people that are saying hakuna kazi? You know, there are no jobs. Every time you meet a young person, the first thing they tell you are missing a job. What do you tell them?
Now, the same people who say sina kazi, hakuna kazi, are the same people that you will send an opportunity. And I think I saw something doing rounds on WhatsApp the other day, that a cousin asked for a job, and this person went out of his way to look for an opportunity and said, please apply for this. Your skills rightly fit here, so you might get this job. And then later, this same person again approaches the same person and asks them that natafuta kazi, nitafutie kazi. Then you ask, the one I sent you, what happened to it? Hoping that they will tell I went for the interview and they sent me a regret or something like that. Then this young person says, I didn't apply for it. I felt that that place is too far. I'm not able to commute every day. So those kind of things. Yes, exactly. So those kind of things exist where people want to be spoon-fed. And I think it doesn't work like that anymore in business. Companies have got needs. Companies have got problems that want people to solve. Yes. So Kiswahili, they say ni kujituma. You must take initiative, personal initiative, to enable you open those doors. And quite often when you do that and you have the right set of skills, discipline, something like coming to work in the morning, reporting to work on time, and staying until when it is time to go home, that alone would be a skill that puts you ahead of other people. There are people who come to work and disappear. I know young people want to do the flexi time. They believe that, look at me in terms of how much I can do and not how long I'll stay in the office. Then maybe it makes sense, maybe not, but I believe in simple discipline, simple courtesies. Some of those will be the things that then put you above other people. So really, I think to cut all that story short is that there are opportunities and there are employers who are desperately looking for good employees. And there are those who have good employees and they are not able to meet the needs that they currently have. So if you present yourself, and first of all, big takeaway, if you cannot take away anything from what I've said today, take this, that always show up. And showing up means preparing yourself with the right skills and clicking that button to apply. You might be surprised that you're the only person who applied for a particular job. You are saying that those people advertising, they already have somebody. They're just doing it as a formality. But chances are, and I've seen live experiences where people refuse to apply and only a few people applied. So you could be that one person who put in your application. So it begins by, first of all, taking initiative and showing up. There are lots of opportunities, a lot, for those who want to be employed, that is. Right. But there's the other side of it also, which again, something I like about the university that I went to, Maseo University, they always say that they are creating, educating job creators and not job seekers. Entrepreneurship is another huge field that people can then start looking at what are the problems in society, what are the needs. During COVID time, you would be one of the people who are inventing, and with so many of them, inventing hand washing equipments, masks, and all those kind of things. Identify a problem within your society and provide a solution. Start a small factory doing fences. Things like even just bags for collecting garbage in the houses. All those kind of small things that people struggle with every day. Provide a working solution, be consistent, and people will buy.
Oh, Frank, you're very good with words. I've got to say that. You are really, really good. And actually it makes sense. I think in terms of looking for opportunities, lots of people want to be spoon-fed. As you said, you can send someone information and they can't ignore it. So last thing from me, Frank, you work, for a very, very popular organization, a lot of pressure at the moment, mafuta bemingi. So I'm going to ask you this: how do you cope with the pressure? Because these kind of things that they always ask on interviews, and people watching us today, right now, will be asking that. How do we cope with pressure that employers can see? Actually, this person can cope up.
I wish I had a way of just saying that it's possible to cope with the pressure. I remember a situation where I used to work for before at Kisumu Water, where we used to deal with customers. And this particular time, 15th and 16th day of the month, is when now we used to go. I was in charge of revenue collection and customer service. This was the time when you would now go and start disconnecting people's water for not paying their bills. And therefore, on 15th and 16th, going to 20th, you will have a long queue of customers who now have various complaints and want to be addressed. And most of them will land at my desk. At the same time, you have the pressures of the CEO and everybody else and other stakeholders who again want your attention, because probably even them, one of their friends' water has been disconnected by you. And so all of that thing, and it used to be a whirlwind when by the time you go home in the evening, you're like, I think I need to clone myself and have like 10 other me so that we're able to handle this. But I think the secret to it probably is to find something that takes the pressure away. Quite often, things like family would help to do that, so that when you go home in the evening, your family can light up your day and try and forget about those things that happen in the office. And I think it's important to put that line. Some people call it work-life balance. It's clearly captured in that happy wheel, where you look at your life as a wheel that will only roll and move if it is round. But the moment a part of your life is not well resourced, so to speak, let's talk about if you're not paying so much attention on your family, you're not paying so much attention on your health, you're not paying attention on your finances, and therefore people are calling you back and forth about some debt that you have that you've not paid. You're not taking care of basic things like school fees for the children. So they've been sent away from school and you're being called. You're probably too busy looking for money on the side. So you're doing side hustles. People call them side hustles.
Yes.
And so and so your matatu has been arrested by the police and you're being called to go to court. At what time will you go to court to deal with that accident when you're supposed to be at work? So I think if you're able to have a clear cut that this is my professional life, which I do between this time and this time, and between 5, like now, I believe somebody's waiting for me in the other room.
Yes.
Should be somebody else's time, but today I took about an hour from that. So again, you say this is family time. And quite often over the weekend, I like doing nature walks. There's a place called Karura in Nairobi. A very nice place. So once in a while I do nature walks. I'm a fan of very many things. I love pets so much. So that's something that again, and there's a way in which pets really just give you that sense of the way they are loyal. It somehow rubs to you, makes you become a more better human being. So all these things, when you put them into your life, then makes work just become that fraction of you, which you do and do it with less pressure. But the moment that it is work only, my friend, you won't cope.
I like that. And I think it's for those that listen to us right now, when you ask the kind of question, you cope with pressure, it's okay to talk about the family, about the pets, what you want to do. Because most of the time people will say, I've never been into that kind of situation where I need to cope with pressure. So I think that's a very good good point, Frank. Listen, I cannot thank you enough, Frank, for your time, really. But before I let you go, how do you get this job?
How can that be the last question? I thought you were going to make
Correct.
the first
No,
question.
this is the last one, because people will be asking, you look relatively young, you're very relatable, you sound like us. So do you have a godfather somewhere, or how did this happen?
One thing about the kind of jobs that I've always been getting is that many of them were through newspaper advertisements. Well, there's 1 or 2 where I was referred. But mostly it was through newspaper advertisements. My 2 biggest jobs, that is. KenGen, I saw that on the newspaper, and I think it took probably maybe 6 months or so before they got back to me. Wow. And then this lady from HR called me and told me, you applied for this job. I could not even remember that I'd applied for that job. But since they were talking about something to do with communication, I just said yes. And so they called me for the interview. That was somewhere in 2014. And I remember when I was going for the interview, I told some of my friends in Kisumu that I'm going for this job. They asked me which company. I said KenGen. You're wasting your time. Those kind of companies only employ certain tribes. They don't go for us, for people like you. So I was told, just waste your time, but you won't get it. So I actually paid my flight to Nairobi and back, because like I told you, I had a very high pressure job, which I was not able to stay out of work for long. So I had to fly to Nairobi, take the interview, and then come back to Kisumu and continue with my normal job of working for water customers. He came for the interview, and they did the interview, and all in the room, they were all strangers, people that I have not met before. Some of them, like there was one particular one whom I really struggled to even listen to what he was talking about, because he was asking a question and I had to ask him several times, please repeat, because he was speaking in a very soft voice and not very eloquent, which therefore tells you that some people get to those high levels without still having those skills of being eloquent speakers. But I struggled to answer even that question. And finally, I was given a call. And they told me that, when are you able to start? So I was invited to KenGen, and I was given a contract to read. And they told me that I have 2 weeks to go and think about it. That take 2 weeks, go and think about it. If you like the offer, sign and bring it back. And then I thought of my friends in Kisumu who were telling me that those kind of companies don't employ people like you.
Wow, wow.
So I was like, probably they want me to go with that contract so that I cannot get it. I asked the lady, do you have a pen? I think until today, do you have a pen? So there and there I signed the contract and I left it. And I was able to report. I left my previous job on the 30th of August. And on 2nd of September, I was already sitting in KenGen. And now here I am, almost 8 years.
I'm saying it can work. So actually, because people normally say that this job advertisement, they're just for formality. So they actually work. Frank, I can't thank you enough for your time. As I said, we never met before. Now it's good that now we're part of the network. Now, actually, Frank, I've got to confess that before I wrote to you, I wrote to your boss. and she never replied to me. So I'm going to ask you to put a word for me. Remind her that I sent her text and she never replied. Could you do that for us, please?
I think that must have been because of the long list of messages that we currently have. I think even the same with me also.
Correct.
So many of that, yes. I'll put a word for you.
Oh, marvelous. Well, for those that have been listening to us, I was speaking to Frank, who is based in Nairobi, Kenya, working for KenGen. Frank, thank you for speaking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and all the best in what you're doing. Please take your time and use the space that you currently have, which is really powerful. I've seen the videos you've done before. I liked the one with Rosalina Kombe. That came out perfectly well. So I would wish you can use this platform to just really pass these skills and knowledge that our people, our young boys and young girls need to get access to, and just know that it is possible. Iko kazi, to say iko kazi ke. So let's not sit and relax. Take the initiative, and once you get there, knock those doors for those people that can help you to progress. People are always willing to help. Thank you very much.
Oh, Frank, you're very good. Thank you very much, and I'll keep in touch. Thank you very much, Frank.
Asante sana. Nice evening.
Thank you, and you. Oh, that's good.